Christian monastery in Iraq completely destroyed by ISIS. These shocking before and after photos show St. Elijah's Monastery in Mosul reduced to just a pile of rubble. The site had stood for more than 1,400 years. It was recently used as a place of worship for U.S. troops.
In a country that hasn't been at war for more than 200 years, Sweden is now somehow preparing for the worst. Several leaflets are now being distributed to all 4.8 million Swedish households by the government in Stockholm. This is the country's move in an effort to increase the nation's war and crisis readiness, according to the statement that the government has put out. Even though the leaflets do not mention a specific adversary, they do warn that peace, freedom and democracy are values that they must protect and reinforce on a daily basis.
An Illinois high school valedictorian has hired a lawyer after administrators told him to remove any mention of God and Jesus from his graduation speech. Sam Blackledge, who presumably went on to graduate from West Prairie High School, says he was given this message 10 minutes before he was set to deliver his speech.
There's always people out there that, will go against what I have to say, and nobody always agrees, but I believe that this is the truth. It's impacted my life, and I wanted to share the hope of Christ with others.
The family film Show Dogs is being pulled from theaters and will be re-edited to remove at least one controversial scene. The movie is based on a talking police dog and his human partner infiltrating a popular dog show for a case. At one point, the partner touches the dog's genitals to get him accustomed to the longtime dog show tradition, and when the dog objects, the man tells him to go to his Zen place to make the experience more palatable. The National Center on Sexual Exploitation issued a statement saying, quote, "Children's movies must be held to a higher standard and must teach children bodily autonomy, the ability to say no, and safety, not confusing messages endorsing unwanted genital touching." It is not clear when the film will be re-released.
And we do have breaking news coming out of Maryland this evening. That's where the governor has declared a state of emergency for the area around Ellicott City. This after a torrential downpour caused massive flooding there. That's police issuing a strong warning to drivers, telling them to turn around and not drive through the town's flooded streets. Swiftwater rescue teams have also been deployed, and there are reports of buildings collapsing.
They chanted "Protect our kids" and "Too much too soon" outside the district headquarters this afternoon before going inside for the meeting. Parents rallied from San Diego and actually other districts in the county as well. They say they are all fighting the same issue. They feel that this new curriculum is not age appropriate, promoting sexual experimentation. The group says it has collected 5,000 signatures from people throughout the county, and they are asking school leaders here at San Diego Unified to work with them to change how sex ed is taught.
A Louisiana televangelist is asking his followers for donations to buy a $54 million private jet. Jesse Duplantis runs a church outside New Orleans and also reaches out worldwide. More than 750,000 people watch his sermons online and follow his ministry's Facebook page. He is the second prominent televangelist this year to preach the virtues of a private plane.
We want that 7X. We're believing God for it.
In a video posted to his website last week, televangelist Jesse Duplantis says God told him he needs the new Falcon 7X jet.
That if Jesus was physically on the earth today, he wouldn't be riding a donkey. Think about that for a minute. He'd be in an airplane preaching the gospel all over the world.
Reaction to this multi-million-dollar request has been mixed on the ministry's Facebook page. One person wrote, "I am ashamed I ever listened to a word you had to say." Another posted, "I believe Pastor Jesse will have his plane, and that is the way God has planned it." Duplantis is not the first minister to preach the gospel of private flying.
If I want to believe God for a $65 million plane, you cannot stop me.
In 2015, Creflo Dollar asked his suburban Atlanta congregation for a new Gulfstream G650. His ministry settled for a used one.
Father, we thank you so.
And this past January, Texas-based televangelist Kenneth Copeland announced the blessing of a new multi-million-dollar Gulfstream 5. Copeland and Duplantis both defended using private jets in 2015.
The world is in such a shape, we can't get there without this.
Sunday morning, I was in Boston, Massachusetts. Monday, I was in New Orleans. Tuesday, I was in Chicago.
The Lord says how we treat the poor is how we're going to be judged. Stories of pastors and private jets are not the best way of exemplifying what we mean by following Jesus.
We don't know how much Jesse Duplantis' ministry has raised so far, and we were unable to reach him or anyone at his ministry for comment.
We have an update now on the volcano eruption in Guatemala. The death toll is up to at least 25 people, and nearly 2 million are being affected in some way.
The Fuego volcano sent black smoke and ash into the sky on Sunday, which drifted all the way to the capital, Guatemala City, some 40 kilometers away.
Lava from Hawaii's Kilauea volcano is once again pouring into the ocean. The cascade into Kapahoha Bay is releasing toxic steam mixed with tiny particles of glass. And the number of homes destroyed by the eruption is dramatically higher this morning.
This is the eruption that's been blasting lava up to 260 feet in the air for more than a week. The total number of homes destroyed is now believed to be 159, up from 87 on Friday. This is the second time lava has hit the ocean since the crisis began.
This is where the lava meets the ocean. It's cool now, so it's hard enough to walk on, but you can still see some steam rising there. And the problem with this flow is that it crossed a major highway.
The communities of Kapoho and Vacation Land are now completely surrounded by lava after escape routes were overrun this weekend.
Turning to the story in Guatemala this morning, authorities have confirmed 69 people are dead, but there are scores of others still missing after the eruption this week of the Fuego volcano. These are some of the new images just into us. Rescuers finding a baby unbelievably unharmed in a house absolutely covered in ash. And you're seeing in these a glimpse at what officials have been doing in the aftermath of the volcano, going village by village, house by house, sometimes using their bare hands to dig for survivors or look for survivors. 3,000 people have been displaced.
According to Reuters.com, the world's largest active geyser has erupted 3 times in the past 6 weeks at Yellowstone National Park, including once this week, in a pattern that is unusual, but not at all indicative of a more destructive volcanic eruptions brewing beneath Wyoming. Fortunately, scientists don't think this is a sign that destruction is near. Michael Pollan, the scientist in charge for the observatory, stated, "There is nothing to indicate that any sort of volcanic eruption is imminent."
Some great video to show you here. The U.S. Geological Survey says Steamboat Geyser has experienced its third water eruption in the past 6 weeks. USGS says Steamboat began erupting about 6:30 in the morning on Sunday, still going strong as of 5:30. Sunday when MTN paid it a visit. This is what it looked like, sending a huge steam plume into the air with water shooting 50 to 60 feet high. Of course, this is not a major eruption for Steamboat. It's the largest currently active geyser in the world. A major eruption can send water 300 feet in the air. USGS says this is the 5th eruption of Steamboat this spring, may signify a period of greater activity.
As you've been watching it's been probably a year and a half since we last talked. What do you think of sort of the movement that's continued apace to get rid of these gender differences that you've been seeing in society more broadly?
It's very strange because it's science denialism. And the left is all about science until it comes to gender. And once it comes to gender, they don't want to hear about studies. They don't want to hear about genetic differences between males and females. They don't want to hear about preferences or any studies that show that people with higher testosterone tend to go towards certain activities. People with lower ones tend to go. They don't want to hear about that. They want this weird thing where you're not even having the Boy Scouts anymore. You just have the Scouts. Like there's this bizarre desire to eliminate gender as even a variable. It's very weird, and I don't know why. I don't know where it's going. I don't know what's causing it.
Now to Illinois, where a town is now banning assault weapons, giving residents until next Wednesday to hand them over or face a hefty fine. The new ordinance even giving the police chief the authority to confiscate any guns from those who are charged. But does this actually violate residents' rights?
Well, our nation's motto, "In God We Trust," igniting a debate on the Minnesota State Senate floor over a bill that simply allows schools to get this voluntarily display posters with the saying on it. But some lawmakers, Democrats, argued the motto doesn't belong in schools and that it's offensive. Listen.
I'm wondering if Senator Hall would feel the same if students walked in and instead of the word God, the word Allah, which is the word for God in the Muslim religion, welcome students to their school.
This is a God who spoke against money, and the money I carry in my wallet has to say, "In God we trust." I think that's offensive.